into a district. I mean, come on, guys. And here's the thing: Thomas Massie, if he'd had the same 38 million that was put behind the other guy, you think he would have lost? Of course not. Of course not. But that's just how it is when you sit there and you brainwash people with AI slop all day and you use $38 million and just put all types of propaganda into one small district. And if you want to understand these primary, like usually these guys spend anywhere from like 500,000 to a high 2 million, not 38 million. So that lets you know something. But all right, though, let's get right into it.
And joining me now is Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. Congressman Massie, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you so much for being here. I do want to get to your race in just a moment, but I have to start with that developing news on Iran. President Trump posting on Saturday that an agreement with Iran has, quote, largely been negotiated. It's unclear what exactly has been agreed to, whether any deal would directly address the issue of the nuclear program, which of course is at the center of the war with Iran. So far, no final deal has been announced. But Congressman, would you support a short-term deal with Iran?
Well, I was the author of the first War Powers resolution to get us out of Iran. My constituents are hurting. Gas is almost $5 a gallon. Diesel's almost $6 a gallon. And the farmers here in Kentucky can't afford the fertilizer to put on their fields. So heck yes, I would support it. We don't know what the terms of it are, but if Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz are crashing out last night, I'd say it's probably a pretty good deal.
All right. Well, let's turn to the big news. The reason why you're here, you did lose your bid for re-election this past Tuesday after serving 7 terms in Congress. Why?
Yep, what was it? Three pro-Israel Jewish donors pretty much came in and bought that election. And it was funny because like a Jewish columnist pretty much said that, yeah, there's a lot of Jewish money in politics. Yes, a Jewish columnist said it out loud. I played the video. Actually, I released it. I have the video on my channel here. No, actually, let me go to it so you guys actually know where to go. But bro, dude literally came out and just said the quiet part out loud. There's a whole lot of Jewish money in politics. We'll buy whatever seat we need to assure a yes vote for Israel funding and more. So what does that tell you? And I know a lot of people say, well, what about Qatar, China? That they put a whole lot more money into Israel. But yeah, where do they put their money into though? They put their money into lobbyists who go out there and, talk about coal burning or oil. It's like, yeah, they put their money into lobbying. And here's the thing, that argument is outside what these Jewish donors did. They are Americans who teamed up and put $38 million into a primary. Like you guys talking about, the funding that Saudi Arabia or Qatar is giving is outside of that because they didn't send it from Israel. They were inside of America and they did this because they wanted another yes vote for Israel that Thomas Massie wasn't giving them. And that's what you need to address and stop playing stupid and talking about, but do you know that China gives more? And yes, we know. But then we ain't got no Chinese billionaires teaming up to buy elections though. Now, are we? And if we did, we'd all be outraged and we call it out instantly. But for some reason, we picking and choosing. But here's the video right here, though. Here's the video here. Elites by election. Columnist admits elites by election outside of American interest. Right here, guys. Make sure to go check it out when you are done with this live. Thank you very much. But all right, guys, make sure to like the video if you haven't already, and let's keep it going.
Why do you think you lost this race, Congressman?
Well, listen, since the day I got to Washington, D.C., I've been doing this job like I thought people wanted you to do it. I read the bills. I didn't give my voting card to the speaker. I've never given it to a president. I don't even give my voting card to the Freedom Caucus. I vote for people over party. And, that means 10% of the time I vote against the party. I've exposed a lot of things in Washington, D.C., the cronyism. I would say, and also bankrupting our country, whether it's Republicans or Democrats. I point out how they're bankrupting our country and how these are all fake fights. They love to divide us. I think the biggest crime I committed against the swamp, Kristen.
What's crazy, the best fake fight that I can think of is immigration, how Republicans will sit there and say, oh, we don't want undocumented immigrants unless they're working on a farm or on construction, for companies that conservatives own. Like, do you see the problem there? They're not consistent. Like, Trump turn around and start talking about, well, I know we're supposed to be hard on the undocuments, but the farmers and the construction workers, yeah, bro, you're supposed to get them too, because they're undermining Americans and keeping wages low. Like, you understand this, but for some reason it's okay when the corporate billionaires get in your ear and say, oh, no, we need the illegals. But when the Democrats is flooding them in by the hundreds of thousands, oh, now y'all want to say something. Now y'all want to speak up. But let's be real though, y'all were willing to use them while they were flooding in. Like, that's the little fake ass fight that I'm talking about. How both of them speak out against immigration, but oh, trust me, conservative business owners was sure as hell using them. Guarantee you that.
Was showing the American people that somebody on the right could join somebody on the left and get something done, which is releasing the Epstein files that everybody knew needed to be done. That's probably the only bill that's passed Washington, D.C. in the last 10 years that lobbyists haven't written. It was written by me and Ro Khanna, and we used the pressure of the American people to cross the aisle and get things done. That's when they decided I had to be taken out, that I was becoming effective. So they wanted to eliminate me. And by the way, they couldn't buy my vote in 14 years. So they bought.
I mean, let's be real though. It's shout out to Massie and Rohana, because those two pretty much forced our government to open up the Epstein files, or they forced Trump to sign the Epstein Transparency Act. Because let's be real, they were going to get it to the floor and Trump would have just looked terrible. Look, the Transparency Act was boom on the House floor. Imagine how bad Republicans was to look to vote against that, to vote against full transparency. And Trump, he didn't even want it to get on the floor. He was pulling people to the side going like, look, man, that floor vote, can you not vote for that? Can you vote no against the Epstein Transparency Act? And people were telling them no. So he had to sit there and concede and be like, look, all of you guys vote yes against it. And this is, and it was one of the most bipartisan bills, like outside of one Republican that voted no on principle, he says. But yeah, basically everybody said yes, the Epstein Transparency Act. And I'm going to be real with you. They've been bitter at Thomas Massie ever since that. I'm talking about the Republicans has been bitter about Thomas Massie pushing for transparency. And of course, voting no for foreign aid.
This seat. This was the most expensive race in congressional primary history. And at the end of this race, we were spending more per day, my side and the opposing side. We were spending more per day than most entire congressional races are spent for the entire cycle.
Wow, it's just extraordinary to put it into that context. You reference the Epstein files, the fact that you and Congressman Khanna, who I'll be speaking to next, pushed to have those files released. You also broke with President Trump on other key issues, voting against the so-called big, beautiful bill. You're opposed to the Iran war.
But let's be into details. The only reason why, because remember, eventually he voted yes. So remember, he did vote for the big, beautiful bill at first, but the original draft of the big, beautiful bill, yeah, he said, one, there wasn't enough cuts, and two, this whole no AI regulation for 10 years is complete bullshit. And I agreed with him on that, and I was happy he was able to get that out. But the extra cuts, I'm gonna be honest with you, even though I wanted them too, I was looking at Massie like, bro, they're already like having a heart attack over the cuts now. Any more, you're gonna put them in a grave with the cuts, okay, man? The Democrats can't handle any more cuts, so let's just go on with what we can get now from them, which we really weren't even getting then. Like, trust me, you think any Democrat agree with the cuts they were doing in the big, beautiful bill? No, not one. But getting Thomas Massie on our side was a hard sell, not because he was against the cuts, it's because he wanted more.
As you just stated, Congressman Massie, was it all worth it?
It was absolutely worth it for me. Now, I don't think it's going to be worth it for the party. Look, the left, some people on the left have Trump derangement.
I mean, let's be real. Like, it's not, because they just shown us that the Republican Party is donor controlled at this point. Like, you guys are the establishment. That's the most establishment shit I've ever seen, is a donor literally buys out a seat from honestly a Republican that a lot of people respect on both sides of the aisle, and MAGA and the other conservatives are just cheering about it, shaking pom-poms over a donor victory. Like, this guy who went against Thomas Massie, nobody knew about him. He pulled up to no debates, but they put 38 million into him, and all of a sudden he wins the election. Like, all of MAGA should have been against that. I mean, even if you don't like Thomas Massie, any donor, bro, didn't we stand against money in politics? Don't we understand how that's how these billionaires undermine us as American citizens? Now all of a sudden you're cheerleading for it, my nigga. Where's the bro? Where's the consistency? Like literally, where's the logical consistency here? Like if a donor comes in and buys a primary seat, you should be against that no matter who does it.
Syndrome. They call it TDS. But there's a growing number of people on the right who have a form of TDS called Trump disappointment syndrome. And I think what's going to happen to the party this fall is they've disenfranchised a large portion of that constituency that Trump assembled to get us in the White House, in the Senate majority, and in the House majority. They've alienated Maha by kowtowing to the pesticide manufacturers and the pharmaceutical manufacturers. They've alienated the fiscal hawks by running Doge out of town. They've alienated the people who don't want to fight another war for other countries. And so I'm worried that in November, this is going to cost the party a lot. But for me, it was completely worth it. And I've got 7 more months to keep going against the grain, which means voting for principles and for people over party.
Let me ask you big picture, because you have said that you vote with Republicans more than 90% of the time. You split when you think it better serves your constituents. One of your constituents told a local reporter this, quote, "I just got to the point where I couldn't support him anymore. I saw Massie as almost what they would popularly call a rhino, Republican in name only."
It's crazy. I would ask him to if I was personally talking to this guy, I'd be like, all right, John, substantiate that. What do you mean he's a rhino? How is he Republican in name only? Like, well, he voted against the big beautiful bill. No, he didn't. Actually, he voted yes on it, but he took out AI, no regulation for 10 years. I'm sure John here would agree that that's not a good thing. And John agrees that we should start cutting things in government, start cutting government spending. Well, that's what Massie wanted, more cutting in government. More cutting in government spending. You agree with that, John? I'm pretty sure John would say yes. So I'd ask him, all right, well, where is he a rhino? That's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't even understand why they voted against Massie. That's just a sad reality. And that's what $38 million of propaganda gets you. A bunch of ignorant ass voters. Sorry.
What do you say to that voter and others of your constituents who might agree with him?
Well, they spent at least 20 million, maybe 25 million against me. And what they did is they expanded the pool of voters. And there were a lot of misinformed, uninformed voters. In fact, my daughter, who lives outside of my congressional district, she heard somebody in the voting booth next to her trying to find my opponent's name on the ballot because he didn't even know I wasn't his congressman. That's how much they've bamboozled the people here in Kentucky. They used artificial intelligence to create a video, lifelike video, that showed me checking into a hotel room with AOC and Ilhan Omar. And
and I ain't gonna lie, that was like a wild ass ad. Like, bro, like I said, they was pushing a whole bunch of AI slop to the people in his district and just pretty much confusing them, pretty much making Thomas Massie seem like a rhino, all these disingenuous statements, pretty much saying that, oh, he voted no against Trump multiple times. Yeah, no, not multiple times. Against foreign aid, which a lot of people agree with. And he voted no for what? No AI regulations, which a lot of y'all agree with. You guys don't want AI just to run with no regulations, right? Okay, then. You also agree that there should be cuts in government spending, right? All right, then. You stand with Massie as well. Well, let's go to one of the ads that were shown here. This should be a good one.
Thomas Massie caught in a throuple in Washington.
What?
He's cheating with the squad on the America First movement. Massie voted with the squad against Trump's.
You know what's crazy? This is all AI. This is all AI, bro. They literally made the people believe that this was real. Those poor boomers.
Tax cuts. Massie voted with the squad against finishing Trump's wall. He voted with them against hiring new border agents. Well, this is worse than adultery. It's a complete and total betrayal of President Trump and Kentucky.
You know what's so crazy? They don't even let you know that this is AI. Like, where does this say that this is AI, bro? There's literally a boomer right now who's thinking that this might be real. Like, what you mean he was out there with Ilhan Omar and AOC? He's a Democrat. He's a complete Democrat. That's why he voted no. No, guys, he's not. He's not. But let me see here. Here it is. Hopefully the boomers read this, though. Yeah, see here, this satirical ad was created with artificial intelligence. Okay, good. See, they did their due diligence, but a lot of boomers, they ain't catch this part.
America First movement. Massie voted with the squad against Trump's tax cuts. Massie voted with the squad against finishing Trump's wall.
You know, right here it is, House roll call. So, AKA, yeah, he voted no on that day, but the big beautiful bill passed with one of his votes being yes. So you see how they're being dishonest, but they gotta kind of be a little bit of honest. But a lot of people aren't gonna know what a House roll call is. They're just gonna assume that, all right, well, these big ass words mean that he voted no against the bill, and that means that. When you look it up, no, he voted yes for the big beautiful bill. He just voted no when it had the BS in it or the pork.
He voted with them against hiring new border agents. Well, this is worse than adultery. It's a complete and total betrayal of President Trump and Kentucky conservatives. On May 19th, fire Thomas Massie. MAGA Kentucky is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So I'm just be real. Did anybody buy that? Did anybody truly buy it? Because I ain't gonna lie, it was a well-made AI ad. I'm be real. I ain't gonna be too mad at you buying it, but let's be real. You got. But let's get back to it.
Holding hands with them. It was actually very effective on the boomers. But here's the thing, Kristen. That's only going to work for a little bit longer. The boomers are going to, leave this country to the Gen X and the Gen Z and the Gen Y and the millennials. And those folks are the ones that I won overwhelmingly. That makes me really hopeful for this country. They don't get fooled by artificial intelligence.
As a 31-year-old, I just want to say, look at me. Look at me. This is my country now. We're taking it back from the boomers.
And they check the news. They get news sources like from podcasts and other sources. So they won this race by fooling my voters and expanding the base of people who vote to the uninformed voters. But look, I got 45% of the vote in spite of this tremendous headwind. That means 45% of the party still believe in the ideals that I believe in and have espoused in Washington, D.C.
Let me ask you about something that you said in your speech on Tuesday night. You said, quote, if the legislature...
Here's the thing. Yeah, we don't believe in what? Donors buying out elections. I mean, we get mad when George Soros do it, but what? 3 Israeli billionaires pull up and do it, and now all of a sudden we're all quiet? Like, it's okay? They were just going to let them spread lies about Thomas Massie? Like, all right, guys. All right. Yeah, you're not falling for the propaganda. Okay, bro. And that's the crazy thing. It's mostly guys in MAGA. And Thomas Massie, bro, it's kind of killed me how a lot of the MAGA influencers low-key betrayed him. Like Benny Johnson. He even praised Thomas Massie. Whatchamacallit? Officer Tatum. He praised Thomas Massie. Now they're all turning on because Trump said so. AKA, these guys ain't real. And they're not even really MAGA. They're just Trump. Like all there is, they're just Trump's cronies, Trump propaganda team. They don't speak for the American people. They speak in the defense of Trump and nothing else, nothing more.
Legislative branch always votes with the president. We do have a king. Do you believe there is still room in the Republican Party for Republicans who vote independently?
You know what? Even the Freedom Caucus has caved at this point. They used to, basically the Freedom Caucus was formed so that 30 or 40 Republicans would have safety in numbers. They have no safety in numbers now. The principal ones are running for statewide office. They're getting out of Congress. I think there is room, though. You just got to go up there and vote your conscience. And you know what? I've inspired a whole generation of state representatives and city councilmen who are running for office. They send me direct messages. They send me emails. They've been inspired. I do believe there's room in the party, maybe not in Washington right now, but the next wave that's coming up, they're going to vote for people over parties.
Well, I want to ask you about some of the issues now, Congressman. As you know, this week, we did see Republicans in Congress actually reject some of President Trump's priorities, refusing to vote on funding for both his ballroom and that $1.8 billion so-called anti-weaponization fund. Some of the strongest opposition, quite frankly, that we have seen from...
And here's the thing. I mean, what did he expect? You sold the ballroom to the American people as if it was going to be paid for by a bunch of multi-billion-dollar companies. Like, you know, Amazon gave some money up, Apple gave some money up, Intel gave some money up. That should be more than enough. The fact that you need taxpayer dollars, yeah, you're going to lose a lot of people because you sold it to us as something that was going to be paid for by these companies, not the American people. And if you'd have pitched that to us in the first place, we'd have told you to F off then.
Members of Congress, Republicans to President Trump to date. Do you think that the party is beginning to break with President Trump?
Well, listen, they're worried about their own political mortality. It's true you can take out Republicans in primaries, but Republicans are going to be very vulnerable this fall. The ballroom, I mean, that is such an egregious waste of money. We were told that it would be funded with private money initially. I like to joke that Miriam Adelson spent so much money in my race, they have to ask for taxpayer money for the ballroom now. And I think it's a slap in the face of Americans. The president was bragging on the Roman architecture, when in fact we're operating like a Roman empire. We're overextended overseas with our foreign aid, with our foreign bases. We're spending money that we don't have. And the gasoline and rent and groceries are so high that people can't afford it. I do think it's dangerous to indulge in these things like a gold-plated ballroom in Washington, D.C., while Americans are suffering.
Let me ask you a little bit more deeply about the anti-weaponization.
Man, look, it was going to be gold-plated, heated granite floors. It sounded oh so sexy when it was going to be the companies paying for it. As soon as you said, oh, with taxpayer dollars, now I'm like, I don't know. Do you really need the heated granite? What about bronze? Now I'm thinking a little bit cheap now that this might be our money going into this. Or how about not at all?
Fund. The president is asking for $1.8 billion to support people who he says have been unfairly treated under the previous administration. This would include January 6th rioters. Congressman, do you support taxpayer dollars going to those who attacked police at the Capitol and attacked the Capitol on January 6th?
Well, if you're going to create a fund, it has to be voted on by Congress. The president can't do this by executive authority. Our founders would say, no, you can't do that. Listen, though, people have been harmed on the left and the right. Their First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights have been violated. And I do think that they should have some recourse.
But would you rule out giving money? Would you rule out giving money to those who attacked or assaulted police officers?
The solution isn't to hand out money. The solution is to change the laws of this country where if you have been harmed, that you go before court and you hear both sides of this, and you could adjudicate those things about whether the person deserves the money or not. But that's what's so hard, is it's so hard to go against the federal government, whether you're on the left or the right. We need to change the laws when they infringe on your First Amendment, for instance, or your freedom to travel, or your freedom not to be vaccinated, that you put in laws where there's liability for the people that force that, whether it's private or government.
Congressman, we're almost out of time. Couple more here. I want to ask about the Epstein files. As you've noted, the speech and debate clause actually protects you from being prosecuted for whatever you say on the floor of the House. You have named names in the Epstein files in the past. Can we expect you to name more names in the coming weeks and months?
Yes. Todd Blanche is violating the law. There's still millions of files they haven't released. We know from talking to the victims' lawyers that their own 302.
No, they said there was like look, so they released 3 million and there's still 3 million more files that they said they're not going to release. They're done. It's over. Leave us alone. And I'm like, okay. And that's literally in violation of the Epstein Transparency Act that they've been violating since, honestly, the 30 days ran up on it. And they went past the 30 days. They were in violation of it then. Then when they finally start putting out files, there were heavy redactions with no explanation, in violation of it then. So honestly, they've just been walking all over this Epstein Transparency Act, showing that they don't give a damn.
Forms haven't been released. We know that files have been over redacted. I have released at least 3 names of billionaires who are implicated in this. I don't think it's possible to get to convictions with Todd Blanche at the top and with the FBI director, Kash Patel, at the top, because they've effectively both perjured themselves by saying that there's nobody else in the files. Even Melania doesn't believe that. The First Lady knows that Jeffrey Epstein didn't act alone. And here's the great thing, Kristen. Whether I'm in Congress or not, the Epstein Files Transparency Act is a law, and it goes on for years. So if we can't get this Attorney General and this FBI.
Oh, and shout out to you guys. We finally hit the like goal. So now let's see if we can up that. Let's see if we can get 10 more likes and get to 30, guys. Appreciate the support. But we did hit 20 likes. Appreciate the support, guys. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, feel free to super chat it in. And make sure to like the video.
Director to do the right thing. The next ones who take those seats are obligated by law to release the files that these individuals are not releasing now.
Congressman, I want to ask about your political future. Some of your supporters were chanting "President, President" as you delivered your speech on Tuesday night. Are you considering a run for president in 2028?
I will.
You know, it's so funny. I said something reckless on X, and I think he put out something like, should I run for the 2028 election? I was like, yeah, you should, you and Tucker. And if you guys fail, I ain't gonna lie, bro, we're just gonna pop off an insurrection.